Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another awesome episode of The Closing Table. I am your host, James Garman.
This is Daniel White. Welcome. Hope everybody had a safe holiday weekend. Let's get started.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I must say my weekend was pretty awesome. Very safe. Didn't really go out into the city of California that much this past weekend, but definitely got to take my daughter out. It was her first time in Cali. She got to spread her little Cali wings.
I saw the photos. Weather was good.
Oh, weather was amazing. Weather, of course. It's hard to run into some bad Cali weather. Just like you have to have like luck of the draw to get some bad Cali weather. Now going to Miami or Florida, for instance, you may get you a rainy couple hours each day, but it
I
always the
I
sun
I,
always shines again.
I think everybody here on Thanksgiving was looking for about like 10 or 15 degrees cooler. I think we're like 82. It's like sometimes it can be difficult to get into the holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas
I
with
can
all
only
that.
imagine. I can only imagine, man.
It's better than shoveling snow, though.
The facts, man. And my thing is like I don't know, maybe because it was how I grew up watching movies. I always felt like those holidays deserve snow. Like, but until I was actually able to go to California for my first Thanksgiving, it was like, wow. I mean, I can see Thanksgiving without all the snow and all of the Christmassy is what they would call Christmassy vibes and stuff like that. So
I think my wife probably just wants like some changing of the leaves and trees and stuff like that. And I get it. We've done some trips where we've seen like the fall change, and those are kind of it's kind of nice and cool. But I'll be honest, man. I love the sand. I love the ocean. So I'll keep the changing of the leaves and the snow up north. We'll stay right here.
and I totally understand that, man. I totally get it. Overall, though, I mean, did you have a great Thanksgiving with you and your family?
We did, man. It's a good day or a good day when you lay down around like 8 o'clock, watch some TV or something like that, and you
Mm-hmm.
look over and you're like, I feel miserable. Like, you just know you ate way too much.
Right. Exactly. I mean,
Yeah, no, we had about 20, 25 people, so it was nice. It was a good outcome. A lot of food, a lot of laughs, a lot of conversations going on. Um, Inflation didn't stop people from shopping,
mhm.
right? We could talk about that. That was crazy. But
Exactly.
before we jump in that, how was your trip to Cali, and how was your Thanksgiving?
So the trip, again, we left the day before Thanksgiving, and we had a big old discussion about how horrible that was going to turn out, and surprisingly, it wasn't as bad because from what we hear from, because my mother-in-law, she has to get one of those wheelchairs, which is great.
Okay.
Which is great that she has to get one of those wheelchairs because we get to cut lines and skip through the wheelchair accessory.
Do you
Um,
feel all the eyes looking at you in the back of your head?
You're like, oh, yeah. So we get to skip the line and everything, but surprisingly, it literally wasn't bad at all. Like, I mean, the lines would, but under moderate. Like, I guess everybody figured. What I figured is that okay, maybe we should have left the day before, and most people did, and that's how they got or they ran into, from what we was hearing from the attendants and the TSA people is like, oh, you should have seen it yesterday. The lines were like wrapped around the building. So unfortunately, yeah, we didn't get caught up in the horrible waiting. We got there what 3.5, 4 hours early. Of course, I jumped on a meeting with you guys,
Yeah, I
but
think you did get there pretty early. I was like, man, you're there early.
yeah, we there early. So
But you never know. You
right, you
never know.
never know. So on that basis, we actually got there, got through TSA, got through everything pretty, smoothly, and had time to grab something to eat, jump on a meeting, and board my flight. They did change my flight gate at the last minute, which was like on a whole nother concourse. If you familiar with Atlanta concourses, this Atlanta airport is like the size of a town. So we had to jump over there. But other than that, the flight was great. My daughter loved it. Unfortunately, I didn't get first class going to California. My wife and my mother-in-law, they sat in first class, and me and my daughter sat in first class on the way back. But first time actually sitting in first class, and I was like, you know what? I could get used to this. I'm gonna start upgrading my ticket. I'm gonna start.
You're a first class kind of guy, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
You
like,
know?
I'm gonna have to start upgrading my ticket. That's just because I'm a cheapo, bro. I'm a cheapo, and I don't like spending a lot of money. When it comes to extra experiences. But my wife keeps telling me, it just when you make the money, you need to learn how to enjoy it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. How long's that flight to California?
5 hours, and it was like, well, once you actually got on the plane, it was like 4 hours and 41 minutes.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
4 hours and 41. Enough time for me to watch two movies and
I got you.
bat my eyes a
Download all
couple
the
of times.
Netflixes and all that good crazy stuff. Yeah, I got you. Talking about the wheelchair, man. I don't want anybody to. I want everybody to turn their mics off at this point because I don't want them to hear the secret, right? I will tell you, man. When we took my grandmother to New York, and the last couple times we've gone, we've had a wheelchair, and I'm like, this is fantastic. My wife was
It's
like,
plush.
Can I have a wheelchair? I'm like, no, we can't do that. That's bad karma. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, I totally understand what you're saying.
Now, if you get out of the car and you trip and you hurt your ankle right
Yeah.
there at the baggage center, okay, then we need the wheelchair.
We need the wheelchair.
Right? So, but
What's fun? It's funny that you said that because the last time we went, because we went to Cali 3 months ago for baby shower. It's fun because now that day was packed. I'm talking about the lines was as long as I figured it was going to be on the day before Thanksgiving travel. Now, exactly what you're saying. I'm talking about young ladies who were like 23, 24, not pregnant or anything, using wheelchairs. And I'm like seeing everybody in a wheelchair. So I guess everybody figured it out. So TSA, the actual general boarding or the TSA pre was actually moving faster than the wheelchair line. So people figured it out like, hey, I'm going to use a wheelchair until I get past TSA and then I'm jumping on board. But I think, man, I can't do it. My karma, bro, is like horrible. So I can't do it.
No,
I can't do it.
I will tell you on that. Now, in Atlanta, do they allow you to push your own wheelchair?
They not supposed to, but on the way back, they was so shorthanded. They was like, just push it yourself. I'm like, but we don't supposed to.
Yeah, in Tampa, you push your own wheelchair, you do your own thing. But when we were in New York, we were getting off the plane, getting onto the whatever you would call it, the ramp to go into the airport.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'll push her, no worries. And the guy's like, no, we have to push you from here to
the car. Mm-hmm.
To your car. I'm like, okay. All right.
Yep. And that's how it is in Atlanta. That's how it's supposed to be. And even in Florida, it's like that. Not Florida, but Cali. But when we came back, they was so shorthanded. It was like, I'm like, but last time y'all told me it was illegal. It was, you can't break this, airport rule for no means. But this time it's like, so y'all allow me to push my mother-in-law myself. Yeah. Gotcha. But
so all the traveling and everything done for the holiday weekend, dude, we spent over $9 billion.
What?
In
Black
Friday. I think that's a record. I think that beats out 2020. So what's going on, man? Why inflation I thought was kicking in. People were scared. They weren't going to spend any money. What's the deal?
All right, now for me.
So it's all fake. It's not real.
Yeah, I mean, for me, man.
I don't want to start anything, but
you're totally fine. You're totally fine. Like for me, as I mentioned a minute ago, I'm a El Cheapo, bro. Like I'm always looking for ways to shave off a few dollars and save them. So Black Friday sales for me has for the past 5 to 10 years hasn't been a priority for me. I honestly think it's a joke. Black Fridays is a scam within itself. The illusion of being able to get something at a great deal has always been a joke or a scam in a sense when you're talking about the commodities of everyday things, everyday items that you can just go pick up, because if you shop around and you price match, you can always find these items at what they're going to be selling them for at these big box stores anyways at those prices. So I guess people have this warped perspective that they're always catching a deal on these Black Friday sales, but you can get these same deals if you shop earlier in the year, You can get these same deals a week or two after Black Friday, the stuff they didn't sell. The prices that you get in these big box stores are actually, again, what they call retail prices. But you can always find these things at the manufacturer. You can always order this stuff directly from the manufacturer at a lower price if you just do your research and just reach out to whoever you're trying to purchase these things from directly and get them at a wholesale price. Even if you don't buy them in bulk, you can still get them at a really good price, because you got to realize if these things were on sale, they wouldn't be making any money, right?
I'll tell you this, James. I was very disappointed, and I almost wanted to call the school, because I'm looking to purchase a license for my daughter. It's one of her Christmas gifts that she asked for. She
Right.
wants a real estate license, right? Let me ask you, when you got your real estate license, if you can recall, how much did you pay for that license? What was it, like the class?
With the
500
class, oh no, classes here was only 150.
Okay. All right. So here in Florida, I think, if I recall, it was like $450 or something
okay.
like that for the class, right?
Okay.
So I was like, all right, cool. I'll jump online. That's the main gift that I want to give my daughter, because that's
Right.
what she's like, Dad, that's what I want. I don't care if I know I'm getting it. It's what I want. I said, okay. So I go online and look, and I believe it was $4.99. They wanted to charge. They're like, "Oh, this is a great deal. You get all of this." It was $9.97 cut in half, $4.98, whatever. I'm like, "There's no deal here." Like, this is some of the problems, is that like they put all these fancy numbers and they raise the
Exactly.
prices. They put this big 50% off sale,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, I mean, it's not what they're reporting it as, right? You know, I was still seeing people in line. We did not go early, but the wife and I went later in the evening, which I'm okay with that, because
Exactly.
we were gonna grab a bite to eat, and we're not messing with crazy lines and all that stuff. But it's funny when you see these deals, like shirts that are like $4.99, right?
Right.
I was still seeing people with their phones like scanning it, like, can I get it cheaper on Amazon or something like that? It's just crazy.
I mean, I mean, if you really want to save some money, just order all this stuff from Alibaba, or just order from over. It might take you 2 weeks to get it, but you still get it. I mean,
Yeah.
just overall, when it comes to the Black Friday situation and the financial impact that it may have or may not have on our economy, it kind of gives us a indicator or indication of where our GDP and everything is at. Our fiduciary system is standing, and I personally think all of that is a sham. I think it's a fraud, because people get caught up in these moments and they don't think about the future. Yeah, it's good for the moment. It helps put money back into the economy for the moment, but the overall long-term impact is devastating to the little person, to the small person, to the lower class or the middle class person. And I don't think that they understand that, the rich don't go out and do Black Friday. They own the stores that you're Black Friday shopping at, so we don't see them spending their money the way we spend our money.
I
And
think it's tough. I think it's tough if, I always have it in my mind when I looked at Black Friday. I'm like, and I thought about this yesterday. If you got paid the week before Thanksgiving or the week of Thanksgiving, and you went out on Black Friday and you spent more than what your check was just to try to put smiles on people's faces, your priorities are not in the right place
at all, they're not.
They're not. Because you know what? Getting a card in the mail, a thank you card from one of your real estate clients, one of my insurance clients, real estate clients, right? Puts a smile on my face, just like if I open up a gift and I'm like, oh man, that's a great shirt.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to spend all that crazy money. And if you're spending more money than what your paycheck is, it's not right,
I totally agree. Speaking about that, saving your money and doing things smart, going the smart route. My daughter, we actually went to Topanga Mall Friday, not to do any shopping. I wanted something specific. There's this body fragrance that I really like. It's called Francis Cardigian Black Satin Moon. Satin Moon. Oh man, if you never smelled that fragrance, bro, you have to smell it.
I'm kind of a savage guy, my friend. So
Oh no, I wanted some. I wanted some. I love Johnny Depp, and that's the only reason I was going to purchase some. So
yeah, all right.
but yeah, if you're telling me that's something I need to really go and put my hands on, I'm telling you, I will. So I love fragrances. So I wanted to go to Neiman Marcus to grab me a bottle, and they had a Black Friday sale as well. It's just that again, I'm El Cheapo, so when I seen the 2.4 ounce bottle of Satin Moon for $300, I'm like, and you get $50 off on that bottle. So I was like, I can order this off of line and wait 2.5 weeks to get it for 125. But again, I wanted it right now, so instead of just buying that one bottle, I got the pack of multiple small bottles that I get all the fragrances for 175. So I'm like, I just spend the other 125 ordering offline and waiting 2 weeks to get it.
I can see, James, when you get down to the very bottom, you're like, all right, now how can I put like a little bit of like distilled water?
Yeah, let me dilute this a little bit,
Yeah.
So so on our way out of that store, my daughter she wanted a swimsuit because she wanted to go swimming at the pool at the hotel. And I was like, sure. But I'm like, you don't want to go into the, Tiffany's, or you don't want to go Michael Kors and get you a bag. She's like, you buying it? No. She said, I said, you got the money, you've been saving your money. You got money, go buy you something, get you something nice. She said, no, if it's over $9.99, I'm not spending my money on it unless somebody gifted to me.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So, I'm teaching her how to sustain in this economy. Like, Lord, not just saying, I want you to live a low standard lifestyle. It's just that I want you to understand where we are financially in the economy. And the ones who don't understand how to save and put that money to the side is going to be not even just put it to the side, but understand that it shouldn't be spent on useless things. They're going to be the ones who suffer the most in this economy, because people don't understand. We are in a deficit where your finances are not going to go as far as they did 2 or 3 years ago pre-pandemic. So I'm trying to get my daughter to understand that same notion, because I want her to be able to invest her money when she turned 18. My goal for her is, hey, you need to have the money to put a down payment on your first rental property, not a vehicle, not anything like that. The first thing you're going to do with your credit once you graduate is buy yourself a rental property. You can live with me. You can stay here, and we're going to use that property as an income producing property.
Passive income.
Passive income.
Age, yeah.
Yes.
Once they get a taste of that, then they want more, and then that's when they become the big boss. Right?
Exactly.
And James, in what you're saying and what you're preaching to your kid is the same thing that I do as well, right? And if we are wrong in all of this, and everything is just an illusion, and everything's going to be perfect next month, and all that stuff, if you instill those values and the way to handle your money and invest more than just buying a nice t-shirt or a nice purse or a bottle of cologne, stuff like that, well, then you're going to be better off than 70% of everyone else around you. And that's a pretty good feeling when you don't have to stress about a paycheck, when you don't have to stress about paying the bill, and you're like, hey, you know what? I live within my means. I'm able to do what I want, travel where I want, as well as put a certain amount of money away every single month. That's a pretty darn good feeling. And I wish I feel like my grandfather is going to slap me in the face here, but right. Like he preached this to me when I was 18 years old, and I didn't listen until I was 32, 35 years old. I'm like, man, I got to get my act together and start doing this. Right.
Exactly.
And so it is definitely a little crazy out there watching people spend money and
knowing that we're in this economic struggle right now to, gain some type of balance with our financial system, and I don't think people taking it serious. And it's okay if they don't take it serious. It's not my goal, it's not my job to make sure everybody is where they need to be financially. I think the goal and the point here is to try to at least point out some aspects of how we see finances and how they should be spent. Again, we're not the experts here to, we're not financial advisors to that extent, where we're portraying ourselves as to be financial advisors, but just having experience, having finances, having that type of money at your fingertips, you need someone that can kind of guide you through the ropes and guide you through life a little bit. Because I think we free willingly go out here and spend so much money unnecessarily that it causes us to feel like money is going to forever come. It's always going to be disposable and be able to get more of it when that's not the case.
No, absolutely. And a good indicator, right? I read an article this this weekend that investors,
Uh-huh.
they have way more money than all of us. They're sitting at the top of the table. They don't do the Black Friday shopping like you already said, right?
Exactly.
They're sitting there watching everybody spend. But these large investors, I think they dropped 30% in buying real estate over this last quarter.
Oh, wow.
30% they
30%.
dropped, right? So
they didn't go after the Black Friday sales on real estate.
yeah, no, they are not even buying the houses right now, right? And I've got stories to tell you on that. I went around this weekend. It's been a little while, but I wanted to go around and show some houses to a buyer that I have. A nice lady looking for her first house.
Yeah.
And we went into about 7 houses. And I will tell you, my friend, these fix and flips, these investors, if you're listening to this podcast and you are thinking about doing fix and flips and investing in the real estate field, please make sure that you are vetting your contractors, anyone that's doing work inside and out on the house. I can tell you, James, the tile work, the shower floors, the cabinets, it was disheartening, especially for this lady looking for her first house for her and her daughter. You see all these pictures and they're beautiful, but when you walk inside, they didn't even clean these houses.
Whoa.
I'm like, guys, you want feedback? Like, you really want feedback? Like, I'm gonna give you some feedback. Like, step up your game. Like, be proud of what you're doing. If you spend $150,000 and put $50,000 into the house, it better look like you put $50,000 in the house and not $20,000.
I totally get it. Again, I think we mentioned this on our last podcast about how you should take, especially as a client, as a real estate agent and working with your client, like we spent about $250 on helping our client get some organizers to pack up their stuff, get everything decent, take the stuff off the walls that made it seem personal for the homeowners, and so it can make it have that homey feel of the buyer walking in and seeing their self and their family there. Yep. And honestly, the 2 days after we listed that property, we got great feedback on the house. Someone even wanted to put in an offer on the house. We have to call again. The holidays hit, but we should be checking back in on that this week. But yeah, thank you. But yeah, just overall, how you present a house is still a very valuable element in selling a home. And a lot of agents don't realize that, because again, we're in this mixture of experienced and non-experienced agents, where non-experienced agents are getting their first property and they're being able to work their first deal, whether it was handed to them by a referral or whatnot. Yep. But they don't know actually how to structure that property in a sense to make it sellable. And this is the thing that's going to separate an experienced agent from an unexperienced agent. Because if that house stays on the market for 30, 90, 60, 90 days, then who you think they're going to call next? They're going to call someone who actually has more experience. They're going to find somebody who has a house that they're looking at to purchase, and they walk into this person's house and see how the agent set up the home and did the open house. If they have a nice sign in the yard, and they're going to use that agent, they're going to call that agent, and that agent is going to have your business. That's the type of structure we have going on right now. And to go back to what you were stating about the investors, is definitely shocking to me to know that a lot of investors are now taking the open door route. No knock on open door, but I've had a lot of bad experiences with open doors properties. Open door is the type of place where you go and shop at their properties, and they're buying them at market value and trying to sell them over market value,
Yep.
and they have no room to actually invest into the home and make the home feasible or sellable to the person who's purchasing the home.
When I walk into those open door homes, right, it's like I look at it and I visualize top of the top of the ladder, investors just sitting there saying, "Okay, we've got this X amount of money. Let's just buy these houses. We don't care who goes in there and fixes it." And it looks just like that, just
Oh
like you
wow.
can imagine. It's like somebody came in here. They probably took 5 or 6 weeks longer than what was estimated to
Yeah.
redo the house, right? Because that's how they work. And when you walk in and you're trying to show a house, and the you could turn the shower on, and the water is floating in the stand-up shower. Like you can't float properly, and you know,
Horrible.
we had a cabinet door that James, I'm not lying to you. I should have took a picture of it.
You should have took some pictures,
I should have
bro.
took a picture of it. I should have taken a picture of it. James, the cabinet door fell off. They didn't even have the proper equipment for the
Wow.
door. Like they just put the door on and said, "Okay, let's just let it sit there." Oh, it's perfect. Like you know what I'm saying?
No, like what are the
they
odds of
just
somebody walking through
yeah,
and opening this cabinet?
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Oh man, it was tough. It was very tough, man. Very tough.
I must say, when it comes to these investors, the amount of money that is flowing through these investors' hands right now, they don't have to care. They're just adding product to their portfolio. And for people, to product is the home or anything that they're purchasing.
Yeah.
They're using this stuff as if they don't have to sell it right now, which is true. If they don't sell it, they can just move somebody in it. They can just move a family in it that is desperate to move in anything. Then we build up on a slumlord situation, where we have people moving into these homes that are already falling apart. And then you have someone who don't really know how to take care of a home, who wants a pretty decent place to stay or just need a place to stay, calling you 1,000 times to get this and that fixed. And you never come through to get it fixed. The house starts to the house starts to fall in, and you start having all these problems with the plumbing, with the roofs, and with everything. And you looking at the tenant as if it's their fault when it's really not. It's really the landlord's fault, because these investors don't have to be landlords. They hire these project management companies, or they create project management companies
Yep.
that they pretty much just use to cipher even more money out of their investment that they don't have to pay that type of taxes on. So it's just a scheme that works for a lot of investors, and it creates horrible living spaces in our economy. But they're
Well, it
making
has
millions.
like Airbnbs too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if they don't sell it like they want to do it, right, James? And
Exactly.
then they could rent it, but every landlord that rents a house is like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna rent it out for 2 years, 3 years, I'm gonna have to fix it again, right? So then they look at these Airbnbs, you put down like, you have like a deposit, all of that stuff, right? Problem that I'm having with Airbnbs, and I do have some investors that own Airbnbs, right? And I do insurance for them. Uh, they have a big issue when it comes to insuring the property, right?
Right.
They can sit at the table and say, man, you know what? I Airbnb'd my house 10 times last month. I made $3,000. Perfect. If you rented it out monthly, what are you going to make?
20.
1,500
Yeah,
bucks?
15, 21 at the
Right.
most.
So on the insurance side, for proper insurance on an Airbnb, if you do it right, let's just take a 1,500 square foot home.
Okay.
Okay. Because of the usage with Airbnb, it is a much riskier property. We know how tenants are. They don't care. It's not their property. They're
Right.
going to call you. You're going to come and fix it. Otherwise, you're not going to get your rent, or they're going to try to do something. So
Exactly.
when I turn around to someone that has an Airbnb and I'm like, hey, your insurance on this house is going to be $4,000 a year. They're like, what? They're like, I could rent it out to a tenant and my insurance is only $1,200 a year. Yeah, you're right. It is. But you're only collecting $10,000 a year or $15,000 a year if you rent it out on a 12-month lease. If you
Right.
do an Airbnb, you're making $35,000,
Doesn't
$40,000. It's a business, right? Like
exactly.
insure it like a business the proper way. Now, I'm just I have had multiple phone calls into the agency, and my agents would be like, "Hey, how come their premium's only $1,500? How come it's only $2,000?" And I'm like, because they didn't insure it properly,
Right.
right? And when a claim happens, that claim company may walk away.
So how long has it been since, and again I just kind of want to touch bases on this, how long has it been since insurance company got involved with the Airbnb model? Like, did this something that came about once Airbnb started, or is this kind of something they've already had set in place prior to Airbnb's becoming what it is? Because it seems like the model shifted to justify what was happening with that economy, or in that economic factor sector.
So I will say that I've got 15 plus home carriers. I've got 8 or 9 auto carriers that
Okay.
we work with, right? Um, when would you say the Airbnb started? Like
Um,
2018?
2000. I'm gonna say I think the official start of Airbnb was like 2015 on a small scale, so
Okay.
16.
All
But
right.
yeah,
Yep. Okay. So I would say somewhere back then, there were certain companies that would do weekly or daily rentals. So they were in the game.
uh huh.
But a lot of carriers, especially here in Florida, they're limited to 5 rentals a year.
Oh,
So if you rent the property more than 5 times a year, right, then you need a specific policy that does daily or weekly, and that is totally separate, right? So um, I think a lot of your policies when 2015 up until probably 2020, 2019,
uh huh.
you were probably getting like a Lloyd's of London, like a non-admitted carrier. What's that story? There's a group of men and women sitting at a round table, and we're like, okay, we want to insure this. All right, $1,500 for this policy,
Yes.
right? You know what I'm saying? But you don't have any coverage. You don't really
Right.
want
You
to
don't
pay.
really. Right. You're not walking away with actually any coverage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna rebuild a blockhouse and build it a frame house. Right? No, okay. No, they're good. Certain situations or certain risks that insurance companies will not take in Lloyd's of London and stuff. They're saviors when it comes to that stuff. So
Got you. Because my,
um,
cause my thing is, when I look at the Turo model of renting out your vehicle, they have on their platform, there's a insurance
uh-huh.
policy, that you can purchase through them, but also be covered by your own insurance policy as well. So I guess my structure, what I was thinking was the structure was kind of like that for Airbnbs, but it seems like that's not set in place because every time I got an Airbnb, I never seen get you some rental insurance in Airbnb, which I think somebody should possibly or probably create an insurance company that's structured around day
I
to
would be
day
surprised, James, if Airbnb doesn't have something. It's
for
probably
themselves. I'm thinking for themselves.
again, they probably don't want to pay the premium.
Right. Because I mean, for themselves, for their platforms to cover themselves, they probably have some type of insurance. But the actual person who's putting it on there isn't covered. Because like I got my car on Turo. I have Turo's insurance. They let you choose what split or percentage you want from using their insurance to cover you if something happens in your car. So and the buyer also has the opportunity to purchase that same insurance. So for me, I think Airbnb needs to implement that same model so people can be covered when they're out here renting out their homes or when or when the renter is using that property in case something happens. Because we do have teenagers. We have teenagers who like to go to these places and throw parties. And I know Airbnb literally put on their platform like no parties allowed at any of their residents. So like the max you can have in a place is like 4 people and no parties are allowed. So I mean, it makes sense to me, again, my wife boys, her sons are banned from Airbnb from all the parties they throw. So there's like no more Airbnbs for them. So I'm pretty sure, the rock stars, man, they've destroyed some hotel rooms and they destroyed some Airbnbs. So I can only imagine.
One of my favorite beaches, as a kid, I mean, I've been going there since I was 8 years old, is Indian Rocks Beach here.
Okay.
And there's a big uproar with the residents there, because a lot of people, I mean, Airbnbs on beaches are a gold mine, right? Like, I mean, who doesn't want to go to the beach, right? We just talked about when it's snowing and, there's hailstorms, and why not go to the beach?
Why not go?
So the residents in Indian Rocks Beach have thrown up blocking, like they're like over it, because a large percentage of these houses have been purchased by investors, or what it may be, you and I buying houses there and turning it into an Airbnb. And, it's just constant in and out all day long. Different people, again, they don't care where they park, what happens, what trash they leave behind. And I do get that in a sense. Like you don't want to take away from the
pristine, the pristine and the value that place has had over all of these years. If you want to go to a resort, go to a resort where they're prepared to cover all of these damages and all of this trash and all of this waste that is left behind from tourism. Like, now, if you're going to be one of those people who just take, my thing is like, it's how you set it up as well. If you're doing a big house and you got 8 bedrooms in this house and you're putting it on Airbnb, then you know what type of environment you're about to get. You're about to get 8 college kids putting their money together to come to this place to have a party. They want to come here and live the life. So if you do a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, or 2-bedroom, 2-bath, a little smaller place, you can kind of control the narrative with those places a little better. You're probably going to get a family or a husband and a wife who just looking to have a nice little getaway.
Yep.
But overall, I respect that notion. Listen, coming from where I come from, I come from the projects of Mississippi. I literally was a project baby in that sense. I know what it's like to have neighbors who don't care about anything. I'm talking about their surroundings, their environment, the waste, the trash, all of that. I grew up in it. I've seen it. Now, once I got money and I was able to live in a HOA, I know people say a lot of bad things about HOA, but I became one of those people who didn't want to see my neighbor's grass not cut. So I didn't want to, I'm being honest.
No, I get.
I wanted my neighbors to let me know when they was having a party and how many people they was going to have and if my driveway was going to be blocked. I wanted neighbors who were willing to say, hey, listen, I see your shrubs haven't been cut. You have a lot of weeds. Do you mind getting your lawnmower guy to cut this and keep that down? I respect HOAs, bro, because I respect the clean environment.
James, I love you, James. James will not spend $300 on a bottle of perfume or cologne that he loves, like
gotta have it.
All just realize that he's the guy at the end of the block, at the end of his driveway, and like, yo, John, hey, Harry, your shrubs, they need to be cut. Your edging, you need to put the blade or
exactly
the blade a little bit,
Exactly. Like literally, I'm that guy now because I respect what a HOA stands for, and it's keeping the value of your property high. And once you allow, in your covenants for people to park 5 and 6 cars on the grass or in the yard, or if you're allowing them to host their home for a number of months for Airbnbs or short-term rentals, you're literally allowing people to come in and take advantage of something that we spend a lot of money for. And on that basis, I think I'm not mad at people in Indian Rock for wanting to put roadblocks up. I'm not mad at people down in South Fulton or North Fulton of Atlanta, Georgia, who's saying no to Airbnbs, because there should be a designated area in certain places where if the community is okay with it, then yeah, sure, make it happen. But if people who are really like, I don't want this in my neighborhood, we want to keep our neighborhood and our value pristine, man, I'm not against that at all. I think people have the right to be able to create that boundary or those barriers for what their living spaces look like.
Yeah. Two things, James. I have this vision in my head now, being that we're in the season of giving right now, and Christmas is right around the corner. And I know that you're the guy now that's causing the letters to show up at my house from the away. I can see getting you a backpack like Ghostbusters, and
Yeah.
you put a weed control killer, and you can go for your daily walks, and you can kill people.
Just kill people weeds.
Um,
Listen, sounds fun. Sounds fun.
so, have you heard of this new thing called pad split? So you talk about, we have our
Pass split.
investors do the fix and flips. Then we talk about Airbnbs and all of this stuff and daily rentals. There's this new thing out a couple of weeks ago when I went with the wife down to the convention center for all these small businesses.
Right. I mean, we
There's
spoke
a
about
thing
that.
there called pad split. So they take, I think it's a great idea, but insurance wise, how is that covered? They take a single family home and they turn that, say, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home into multiple rental rooms. So
Okay.
they put doors on, so everybody has their own door, their
Right.
own room. I'm assuming they share the
The-
kitchen,
yeah,
whatever it is.
community space.
This is just a regular single-family home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. They
Right.
turn it into a 4-bedroom. They probably convert the garage. I think it's a great idea, like near colleges, right?
Right, and again, I've done a lot of research on that.
Okay.
Well, from my understanding, pad splits or house hacking is what I'm familiar with the term house hacking, where again they do exactly what you're saying. The homeowner even lives in some of these places because they pretty much get to live in their house for free, and have their rent paid by multiple people. And I get it, because that's something that I want to lead into as well with the conversation about when I mentioned that I wanted to talk a little bit about the homeless situation. So the house hacking makes sense in a lot of ways. I'm okay with the house hacking situation, especially around colleges, as you mentioned. They've been doing that anyways, renting rooms, but these rooms are going for what? Think about California, thinking about $900 for a damn room, $1,000 for a room. Florida maybe up to $700 to $1,100 for a room, and it makes sense because if you look at the rent rate, is even though it's dropping a little bit, it's still high. Like a studio apartment is going to run you what, $1,500 to $1,700. A 1-bedroom, 1-bath is going to run you up to 2,000. A 2-bedroom, 2-bath is going to run you up to almost 2,500. So rent rates are still high, especially for the economy, and people not. I don't know if it's that people don't want to work or people can't find jobs that pay them enough to survive. But I do see a lot of places that are begging people to come work for them. And I'm talking about, even I seen McDonald's saying they'll pay you $17 an hour as an employee. And I'm like, wow, I wish this stuff was around when I was 15 and 16 years old and needed
And McDonald's will help you with your college.
with your college.
So I mean,
It's crazy that the benefits people are getting just for restaurant jobs, but they still can't keep anyone. So it's something. There's a disconnect in our society right now. But the house hacking, I definitely think is a good financial tool to be using in this economy, because on the basis that people can't even afford to live on their own, they always need a roommate. The house hacking situation seems to be a prolific stand, to be able to actually have a living facility. Now, for me, I think it's a little weird to be staying with 4 or 5 random people that I've never met. But again, don't you do that in college? But I think in college there's an equal level of camaraderie or understanding because we're both here for a professional reason to get education and to grow. I don't know about sharing a room with a 45-year-old, 50-year-old man or woman, and I don't know anything about them.
Yeah, and your kids in college. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah, right. I mean, that's everything. So there's always going to be something that's going to throw a wrench in things. But no, you're right. Like if my daughter or my son was renting one of these pad split houses and next to it was a 55-year-old woman or male, whatever it is, it's kind of like, man, you're in a college town. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, overall, it comes down to. I'm sorry, I seen a message I need to delete the spam. But yeah, overall, I definitely think the house hacking situation is a good idea. Now, let me touch on this real quick.
Yeah, you mentioned California.
California,
Yep.
great state. Really do like visiting California. And real quick, if you're in here, please drop a chat, drop a comment in the chat. Dolores, hello, good morning to you, B Walker as well. Drop a comment in the chat, and if you are in here, please hit the like button if you don't mind. Help us stay in that YouTube algorithm so we can reach more people. But love California, love being able to see the city, see the nightlife. But one thing that is really running rampant in California is their homeless situation. And even here in Atlanta, I'm seeing a lot of it. Don't know what it's like in Florida for you right now. I used to see a lot of it when I was in New Orleans. I haven't been in New Orleans in a while, but the homeless situation in New Orleans was super crazy as well.
Yeah.
There's right now about 100,000 homeless people in New York City. I think the last numbers I just recently ran was about 100,000 homeless people in New York City. And I guess my thing is, it's like with everything being the way it is, how do we fix the homeless situation? Because it's crazy. We seeing that the pad splits or the house hacking is one way to help people get shelter, but what more can we do? Is there something more we can do with the homeless in these areas to help them get into more sustainable living? Because man, these tent cities in which they call them, I literally seen like now. When I went there, I used to see like a tent on the sidewalk, and then there may be like a couple of blocks or two before I see another one. Now it's like really tent cities on even blocks you wouldn't think there'd be on downtown LA, Hollywood Boulevard, the Walk of Fame. That stuff is like is littered with tents like everywhere. And now they're even making double double stacked tents or double level tents, and it's crazy. It's like you got a 2-story tent out here. It's like, so I'm trying to figure out, is it the economy is super bad, or is people really just getting comfortable with just this living structure? At some point, like, what do we do to help this situation?
Yeah, no, James, where we're at here, I've seen it pop up a little bit. Um, if I go to Publix or if I'm driving to the gas station, there's always there, and I'm always like, you know, I see the same guy, same spot all the time, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee. You want a cup of coffee? You want something like that? Um, one thing I've never asked him to do is, how can I help you? I'm always like, hey, can I get you a cup of coffee? Can I get you something to eat? Something
Right.
like that, which I feel like I'm doing the right thing by doing that. But you just made me think when you were stating that is maybe I'm asking him the wrong question.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what can I do to help you? What's going on? Right? You know what I'm saying? And maybe it's like, hey, I'm just looking for an opportunity. I'm just looking to take a shower. I'm looking to somebody to help me with some interview skills. I don't know how to talk to people or
Right.
whatever it is. So I I I think it's probably going to get worse before it gets better.
I agree.
Uh, you know, um, I would say that, and I know there's probably programs out there. I just don't think that. someone that's living on the street or sleeping on the street doesn't have access like you and I with our phones to Google something and find some help, right?
That's why I was the question for me is it that it's more of a comfort level that they've reached where because I've seen some disturbing stuff where you have people with 50-inch screen TVs out here watching football on their, like they have nice cell phones, they have whole couches. They like the situation is almost most like I want the confinements of a standard living, but I actually don't want the responsibility of a standard living. So it comes down to me questioning that as well. And then I've watched a very unique documentary lately about the homeless population. And you got to ask yourself, is this a homeless industrial complex as well? Is there a bigger agenda behind the homeless being or people being homeless than we're actually seeing? And let me paint a picture for you. If the goal is to save, is to get money to help the homeless, and a lot of these companies or a lot of these facilities or a lot of these these nonprofits are making a lot of money, why would they ever really want to solve the homeless issue? Why would they actually want to solve it when they're making so much money just helping it stay steady? Because there are $100 million contracts that are coming in on these programs. That's a lot of money coming through other people's hands. People are literally getting rich helping the poor. So I'm trying to think if there is a bigger plot to keep people homeless versus actually get them help and get them in more stable living environments.
You got me thinking again here, man. It's if something's going to put money in someone's pocket, they're going to continue to do it, right? I mean, that's what they do. I think that I think we need to look more into it and see, right?
Exactly.
Now I would say that uh, I've seen it happen where my son is like, "Hey, I'm gonna go buy this sub and hand it off," and the guy's like, "Nah, I don't want that. I'd
Exactly.
rather have money."
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, for me, someone like that probably just wants the handout. But I'm sure there's more than a handful of people that are out there that have just hit a bad road, a bad some bad luck that are like, "Hey, all I want is a little help. I don't care about food. I don't care about money. I just want to learn a trait, learn something, better myself, be able to provide for myself, and get out of their situation." But there's going to be some that are going to build double tents, going to have couches, TVs, better watches than me and
Yeah.
you. You know what I'm saying? That are going to just write it out and always ask for a handout. But I do believe that there's more people out there that have just come across some bad luck and they think that every time they wake up, it's just another bad
It's just
day.
another bad day. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and that to me is that's changing the mindset. That's again, like I said, I'm always like, "Hey, I think his name is George."
Uh-huh.
I'm like, "Hey George, I'm gonna get you a cup of coffee. Are you hungry this morning?" I always ask him that. I'm gonna ask him a different question when I see him now. I'm gonna be like, "Hey George, what do you need?" You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's not food. I'm sure
Yeah.
he probably sitting in front of a gas station. I'm sure he gets food and drinks all the time, right? So
So yeah, man, I really want to keep my eye on that and just kind of, again, we'll have a more in-depth conversation about it. But I do see our homeless population rising. Inflation has a lot to do with that, and we have to realize with inflation, you have people losing their jobs. Even in Mississippi, where I come from, there is a couple of factories and furniture companies who just recently shut down, literally shut down overnight. They sent these people a text message and told them, "Hey, don't come in and work tomorrow. Like you're no longer like we no longer need you," through a text message. And these people 401ks was wrapped up in these pensions, and they've been wiped out. They're literally nothing there, and what are they supposed to do? You already live in one of the poorest states in the country. Now you're jobless, and there's lack of jobs there. And two of the biggest factory producing companies or furniture producing companies just shut down. You're talking about thousands of people who are about to be homeless and be left out on the streets. This is another reason why I say do not put your money into these 401ks. 401ks were for the Industrial Revolution. They needed something like that back then, but we don't need 401ks now. 401ks are not the way to go. Putting your money into your company, even if you do put your money into the company you work for, every few years you should be pulling that money out and starting over. You shouldn't keep your money in there longer than 3 or 4 years. Whatever money you've made, take it out and then start over, because that money could always just be, it can be just gone at a snap of a finger. So a lot of people are going to be out. There's people that's worked at these places for 25 and 30 years, and they've been having their 401k for that long. Their retirement is wiped out. They have to go back and work at a new company for this long, for 10, 20 years to just try to retire. But I can't imagine being 55, 60 years old and have to start over. Who the hell's thinking about retiring at 90? Who cares about that at that point? At that point, you might as well be homeless and just, figure it out however you can, because you've worked your whole entire life for something to be snatched away from you at a snap of a finger. So it's crazy, but people have to start figuring it out. Stop putting your money with the company that you work for. Like 401ks are dead. I think that's the last place you should put your money is in a pension, and allow these people to work a brokerage or a firm and let them invest your money. And no, start figuring out how to invest your money yourself, in real estate. Put yourself in a better position, because these things are not guaranteed. 401ks and stuff like that is not guaranteed. So yeah, that's just my standpoint on it. And there's going to be a lot of people hurt from this, but overall, I think it's part of the system, it's part of the structure, and we all take risk.
James, but you said it the right way, right? Because somebody would disagree with you and say, you know what, put it into a 401k. Maybe somebody that is not savvy enough to go and read and look at stocks and ways to get additional passive income, right? But that's okay, because you said what was right. Like, honestly, research it yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, do the homework yourself. And if you do the homework yourself, right, and you do the investment, if you succeed and that investment becomes really good, hey, fantastic. You did it the way that you should do it. And let's just say that you do the research and the investment doesn't work out in your favor, right? That's okay. That's a learning experience. Right?
Yep.
Analyze it, figure it out, and be like, okay, that's not going to happen again. So I don't think there's anything wrong with what you said, because you have to do what's important to you and what you believe in, right? And right now, you're like, hey, I'm not investing in big company. I'm not investing in 401k. I'm taking the money that I made in my 401k. You know what? I'm waiting for the housing prices to go down a little bit. I'm going to go and buy, a house.
Exactly.
I'm gonna have some passive income coming in. I'm going to have $2,000, $24,000 a year coming in off of rent.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I encourage everybody who right now who has their money in 401ks. You have to realize where we are. I'm not saying you have to pull your money, but it may be wise if you start to look and see what your company is actually looking like on their books. Because a lot of people put their money in 401ks and these pensions blindly, not knowing exactly where this money is going, where they're investing it. A lot of these places just take the money back. You're giving the money back to the company for them to do what they need to do with your money to keep the company profitable. But that's not always the case. These companies, some may have ran their course. The economy and the way of life is always changing. So we may not need these companies in the next 5 or 10 years. So why allow these companies to use your $50,000 or $200,000 that you've helped them make? Yeah, you made your money. You have the right to pull it. And I think the thing is that people are afraid to pull their money out their 401ks because it's a concept that is supposed to be there until you retire. Like, it's supposed to be there. You don't pull it. Why would I pull it? You pull it, you're going to have to pay this penalty on it. It's a few $100, maybe $1,000. Who cares? But they have this fear that if they pull it, they're going to be missing out on something. Well, I'm gonna tell you this: if you don't pull it, you're going to be missing out on a whole lot if this company goes under. So
Yeah.
you have to do your research, even as an employee at these companies, especially if you've been there 15, 20 years, because this company may has run its course. This company may not be a 100-year company, or if they're already a 100-year company, you got in the last 15 years, they could be reaching their end. So you have to do your research on the places that are holding your 401k and figure out, is this the best place to keep your money? Because stocks goes up and down. Your company stock goes up and down. Sell it at the high point and go find another place to put it. And Sierra said, you are your biggest asset. Investing in yourself over time will have a greater impact than buying into large corporations who will continue to make money off of you for the rest of your life. And I totally agree with that. That's definitely what we're pointing out right now in this conversation, is that your biggest asset is yourself. I learned that myself. That's why I constantly invested myself first, because I know if I fail, then I failed. And it wasn't because I trusted someone else to lose what I gained, what I was trying to gain. I don't believe in putting my money into banks and letting banks invest my money. I use my own investment platforms like Fidelity or Webull, not so much Robinhood, since they pulled a lot of people with GME and AMC back at the end of last year or beginning of this year. So my thing is, I want to learn myself, as you said, Danny, so I can control the narrative. You can't control the narrative when you're allowing someone else to control all of your assets.
Yeah. And again, you are your biggest asset, right?
Biggest.
If you can't believe in yourself and push yourself for success and failures, right? It's not always been success for us.
It's never.
There's been failures, my friend, right?
Guaranteed.
But if you don't learn from those failures, you can't take 2 steps forward, right? So if you don't invest in yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, then how can you make others around you be successful or great? So, I think it's a great topic, and I love it. I think everybody listening needs to look at themselves, write it down, figure out what is best for you, what you're most comfortable with. And I would say that there should always be a tiny little bit of risk in something, because with little bit of risk, there's big reward.
There's big reward. And I think that'd be a great notion to end this conversation on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the closing table. And next week we will be live again every Monday at 6:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, I'm your host, James Garman.
This is Daniel White. Tune in Tuesday, USA soccer team. Support them. I'm not a soccer player, but it sounded good.
I haven't watched soccer since I was 12 years old, bro. But if it's football, it's football, right?
Yeah, it's not soccer. Oh my gosh, you just lost everybody in the UK as my followers. Yeah. Football.
All right. Until next time, man. Y'all have a great one. This was the